My wife's lover laughed when I caught them. I didn't say a word. I just uploaded the proof to her family group. 10 minutes later, her brother was at his door. I, 34 male, feel like a stranger in my own life. A project manager watching a critical system failure in real time. My job is to identify variables, mitigate risks, and create predictable outcomes. For the last 6 years, my marriage was my most important project. I thought all the inputs were correct. I was wrong. The whole system has crashed. 3 days ago, I came home early from a business trip. A rare success. A deal closed ahead of schedule. I walked into my house expecting to surprise my wife Emma with a bottle of her favorite wine. Instead, I heard a man's laugh coming from upstairs. It wasn't a sound of panic or shock. It was a sound of calm observation. My brain, the part that manages spreadsheets and timelines, simply registered a new catastrophic variable. I walked upstairs. The bedroom door was open. There was Emma, in the silk robe I bought for her anniversary, sharing a glass of my best whiskey with a shirtless man I'd never seen. They didn't see me. He said something, she laughed, and then his eyes met mine. He wasn't startled. He looked amused. A smug little smirk played on his lips before he nudged Emma. Her face crumpled when she saw me. "Patrick, you're home." I didn't say a word. I looked at him, at her, at the bottle on my nightstand. There were no more variables to assess. The data was in. I turned, walked downstairs, past my half-unpacked suitcase in the hall, and out the front door. Her shouts followed me, but they were just noise. Corrupted data. I drove until I found a quiet hotel. My mind was already churning. Not with grief, not yet. That would come later. Right now, it was in damage control mode. I needed to control the narrative. I needed to execute a first response before the other party could spin the story. Months ago, after a suspected break-in, I'd installed a security system. Discrete cameras. One was in the living room. It recorded audio. From my laptop, I logged in. I didn't need to watch hours of footage. I knew what I was looking for. I found the clip from earlier that afternoon. Them, on the couch, laughing. Him, Captain Spreadsheet. I don't know how you do it. He's a good provider. Him, a good provider lets you have your fun. Then he was toying with her necklace. The silver one I had custom made, engraved with the coordinates of where I proposed. "What are the numbers?" he asked. She just shrugged. "Oh, just some numbers. It doesn't matter." I felt a cold burn in my chest, but I pushed it down. Emotion was a liability right now. I kept scrolling, and then I found the critical incident file. The front door closing as I left. Emma's panicked cry of my name from upstairs. And then him, the lover, walking into the living room frame, shirtless, holding his glass. He glanced at the door, shook his head, and let out that same smug, dismissive laugh. That was it. That was the linchpin. I spent the rest of the night with my laptop open, not sleeping, just thinking. A project manager analyzing a hostile takeover. Emma's family, the Hawthorns, value reputation above all else. They deal with problems by burying them. If I let Emma get to them first, I would be painted as unstable, emotional, maybe even abusive. She would be the victim. I'd seen her do it before in smaller arguments. I had to act first. It was a risk, a huge one. But doing nothing was a guaranteed loss. By sunrise, I had my plan. I downloaded that 20-second clip of him laughing. I opened WhatsApp to the Hawthorn family updates group. My finger hovered over the send button. This was the point of no return. I was launching a missile into the heart of their carefully curated family portrait. I pressed send. No text, no explanation. The clip would speak for itself. Then I started a new folder on my laptop. I labeled it Project Dissolution. I put a copy of the video inside. It was the first file. There would be many more. My phone, which I'd put on silent, started to light up like a Christmas tree. I ignored it. I had a timeline to build. Update 1. The last week has felt like a year. Thank you for the messages. It's odd feeling like you have to report your own life's demolition to strangers just to keep your head straight. After I sent that video, I kept my phone on silent for a full day. I needed to focus. When I finally looked, it was a mess of predictable outrage, but not at Emma. At me. How could I air private laundry? How could I be so cruel? Her parents, Gregory and Rachel, left voicemails that sounded more like corporate reprimands than family concerns. The only message that mattered was from her brother, Jack. Jack, who is he? I sent him the name Alexander Cole and the address Emma had listed for him as an emergency contact. Handled. I found out later from Jack that handled didn't mean a fistfight. He's not an idiot. He just drove to Alexander's condo, stood in the doorway, all 6'2" of construction worker muscle, and showed him the video. He told Alexander that if he ever came near his sister or his family again, there would be consequences. Alexander, stripped of his smugness when faced with a real threat, just slammed the door. My first real confrontation with Emma happened 2 days ago. She found my hotel. I'd made a rookie mistake, using an old emergency credit card her father had given us as a wedding gift. Of course he got the notification. Of course he told her. It was a stupid, emotional oversight, and I made a note to myself, no more mistakes. She cornered me in the lobby, all righteous fury. "A lawyer, Patrick? Are you serious?" she hissed, after I told her all communication would go through my attorney, Catherine. "You light a match to my entire life, and now you're hiding behind some shark?" "There's nothing to hide from, Emma. There's just nothing left to talk about. My reputation, my family. You destroyed everything because you couldn't handle one little mistake." "The little mistake was sleeping with him," I said, my voice dangerously low. "The big mistake was letting him laugh at me. That's the part I can't forgive." Her face went blank. She didn't understand. She genuinely didn't get that the disrespect was worse than the infidelity. That's when I knew this was the right path. The next day, the first real countermove came. My boss, Dennis, called me into his office, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Emma had emailed my company's HR department, spinning a tale of my erratic behavior and mental instability. It was a smart, vicious move designed to hit my finances and my professional standing. For a moment, my stomach clenched. Had I underestimated her? Did my calculated risk backfire? I felt a genuine surge of panic. But then my training kicked in. Mitigate the risk. I calmly explained to my boss that we were in the midst of a difficult separation. I didn't give details. I just showed him the formal separation notice Catherine had already filed. It was a legal document. It was proof. Her email was now framed as the act of a vindictive spouse, not a concerned one. My boss was relieved. The matter was dropped, and Emma's attack had only served to make me look stable and professional under pressure. I logged it in my project dissolution folder. HR attack failed. That night, I went back to the house to get my passport. In my office, we kept a small safe with $2,000 in emergency cash from a pre-marriage bonus of mine. I opened it. It was empty. Of course it was. I wasn't even angry. I just took a picture of the empty safe. Another file for the folder. Another piece of data confirming the character of the people I was dealing with. This was no longer about a marriage. It was about seeing a project through to its logical conclusion. Update 2. The propaganda campaign has begun. Emma and Alexander are telling everyone I was a controlling, emotionally distant husband, and Alexander was her savior. Her parents, desperate for a narrative that makes their daughter a victim, are starting to believe it. This is the phase of the project where you gather intelligence on the opposition. Outrage is a wasted resource. Information is ammunition. I started with Alexander. The man's ego is his greatest vulnerability. His social media was a monument to unearned success. The condo, the designer clothes, the endless leisure time, it didn't add up to his title of lifestyle consultant. There had to be a source. This took more than an evening. It took 2 solid weeks of my nights, digging like a data miner. I used advanced search operators to comb through public records, archives, anything with the name Alexander Cole. I found property records for the condo and saw it was owned by a trust. The Cole Family Trust. That was the first thread. I started digging into the trust. Who were the Coles? Old articles from society pages and business journals painted a picture of old money, with a patriarch, Jerry Cole, Alexander's uncle, at the head. Jerry was a different breed. His name was on hospital wings and charity plaques. I found an archived article from a local paper about a minor zoning dispute he was involved in. His public quote was what I was looking for. "My family's name is built on character and responsibility. We expect nothing less from ourselves or those who represent us." That was my key. A man like that doesn't just hand out money with no strings attached. There had to be a morality clause. But I needed more than a hunch. This is where Jack came in. During a brief, tense call, I asked him if he knew anything about the Coles. Jack runs a high-end construction business. He deals with wealthy clients. He made a few calls. A day later, he called back. "Okay, weird one for you," he said. "My architect knows the family, says the uncle Jerry is a hard ass. The nephew Alexander has been a screw-up his whole life. The family money is locked up tighter than Fort Knox. The uncle is the sole trustee." That was the confirmation I needed. The pieces were all there, but I was missing the final, undeniable proof of their character, or lack thereof. Then, I saw it. On Alexander's now public Instagram, he'd posted a picture from a gallery opening. He had his arm around a new woman, and around her neck, gleaming under the gallery lights, was the silver necklace. My necklace. The one with the coordinates. He hadn't just kept it. He had given my anniversary gift, a symbol of my marriage, to his next target. The cold focus I'd maintained for weeks finally cracked. A hot, white-hot rage filled my chest. It wasn't about a project anymore. It was personal. He hadn't just laughed at me. He was displaying a trophy of his conquest. I took a screenshot. I saved it to the folder. This was the last piece of evidence I needed. The plan was ready. The payload was assembled. They thought this was a war of emotions. They were wrong. This was a war of documentation. Final update, it's done. The project is closed. I spent a week assembling the packages. I made 2. They were identical portfolios of truth. Inside each, I placed a USB drive with the 3-minute edited video of their conversation and Alexander's laugh, certified copies of the necklace design and receipt from the jeweler, a high-quality print of the photo of Alexander's new girlfriend wearing it, a copy of the formal separation filing, and a copy of Emma's email to my HR. In the package for Emma's parents, I added one more item, the photo of my empty safe, next to a printed screenshot of a text from Emma admitting she took the cash because she deserved it. The cover letters were simple and devoid of emotion. To Jerry Cole, the enclosed materials concern your nephew, Alexander Cole, and may be relevant to your stewardship of the Cole Family Trust. To the Hawthorns, a summary of your daughter's conduct over the last 3 months. I sent them via a bonded courier. As I handed the packages over, my hands were shaking. Not with fear, but with the sheer final weight of what I was doing. This was the button you can't unpress. The aftermath was silent, then explosive. Jerry Cole called me personally. His voice was gravelly and mortified. He apologized for his nephew's deplorable lack of character and informed me the matter had been handled permanently. Handled, I found out later, meant the full dissolution of Alexander's trust. The condo was sold, the accounts were closed, his entire life funded by family money was liquidated. He was cut off completely. The Hawthorns imploded, faced with documented proof of not just infidelity but theft and profound, classless disrespect. The regifting of the necklace was for them the ultimate sin. They finally saw their daughter for who she was. Their support, financial and emotional, evaporated. Emma and Alexander's great love story didn't survive reality. 2 people who value lifestyle above all else don't do well in a sudden onset poverty. Their breakup was, according to Jack, spectacular and vicious. He's now working a commission-only sales job he hates. She's living in a cheap apartment, her pride and reputation in tatters. The divorce was finalized last month. It was uncontested. I sold the house. I couldn't stay there. So how do I feel? I don't feel victorious. There's no satisfaction in razing your own life to the ground. Even if you're taking the saboteurs down with you, there's only a vast, quiet emptiness. My therapist says my project manager brain was a defense mechanism, a way to turn overwhelming emotional trauma into a series of manageable tasks. She's right. For months, I had a purpose. Assemble the facts, deliver the consequences. Now, there's no project. Last week, I was packing the last box from the house. I found an old photo of Emma and me from a trip we took. We looked happy. I stared at it for a long time, trying to remember that feeling. I couldn't. The man in the photo was a different person, working on a different project with faulty data. I felt a pang of grief for him, for his naivety. I threw the photo in the trash. I'm in a new apartment now. It's smaller, cleaner. I'm slowly rebuilding. It's not a project. There's no timeline. Some days are good. Some days I wake up with a knot of anxiety in my stomach and have to remind myself to just breathe. It's not freedom. Not yet. It's an armistice, a ceasefire in a war I never wanted to fight. The board is clear, and I am learning slowly how to play a new game.